for a few weeks. It's because they've been renovating the studio, but now we're back, and I got some things I'd like to talk to you about. Now, what I usually do, when we start a new season, what I ask people to do is write us and let us know what's on your mind and what you'd like to see programs about. And what we'll do is we'll take the best that you got, and we'll try to formulate some programs for you that give you more information as to what's going on the earth today. You know, as a people, we are kind of so small-minded that we believe that the whole world evolves around our church, but it doesn't. Yahweh our Elohim is dealing on a worldwide scene, and the thing of it is that he told all the prophets what he was going to do. But we don't get a chance to read the prophets when we go to church, because people like to play fun and games with us, and we love them so. We like to hear smooth things. We don't like for people to tell us what we're going to have to do to attain the truth of what we're going to have to do to attain this salvation, or to make it through this turmoil that's getting ready to come upon America. America is going to be the first country that's going to be destroyed. They have to destroy America before they can set up the New World Order that's talked about in Revelation chapter 13 and in Daniel 2 and Daniel 7. It's the revived Holy Roman Empire. Today they call it the EU, but it's the revived Holy Roman Empire that's coming on the scene. And we know that the empire that fell was the German Holy Roman Empire. So we know that the empire that's going to be set up will be set up in Europe, and America can't be a part of it, because we know that these protesters is not going to acquiesce their power to no other people. And because of the things that she's done to our people, this is the reason why she has to fall. Let me read something to you out of the prophet Isaiah that he had to say about it. Now, in Isaiah, he's going to mention the daughter of Babylon. Well, let's understand that the first empire that was set up on the earth after the children of Israel came out of Egypt was the Babylonian Empire. And we know that Babylon is 25 miles north of Iraq. It's a little town called Al-Hilal, Iraq today. So, but when the Medes and the Persians, or the Russians and the Iranians came in and took over from the Babylonian Empire, it was still called the Babylonian Empire. When the Greeks came in and took over the earth with Alexander the Great, it was still called the Babylonian Empire. When the Romans came in 62 BCE, it was still called the Babylonian Empire. And in Scripture today, it's still called the Babylonian Empire. Now remember, the Europeans came from Europe and came over to America and killed off who they call the American Indians. And the reason why they call them Indians is because that nut, Christopher Columbus, thought he was in India. So he named the people India. But they came out of Russia when the Bering Straits was above water, and when it was a land bridge, I should say, and they peopled this whole country. And then the Christians came over and decided they was going to murder off the Indians any way that they could, and that's what they did, and took over their country. But all of this was in the plan of the God of Israel, because he had to have some place to put the house of Judah, because he told Moses that we would be in the 400-year captivity in a land that our fathers did not know of, and truly America had not been discovered by the Europeans in those days when this prophecy was given to Moses. But let me read something to you pertaining to America out of Isaiah chapter 47. Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Europe. Sit on the ground. There's no throne, O daughter of the Aryans. For you shall no more be called tender and delicate. Take the millstone and grind meal, uncover the locks, make bare the legs, uncover the thigh, pass over the rivers. Your nakedness shall be uncovered. Yes, your shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet you as a man. Well, let's see what is her shame. Her shame is the fact of who she has over here as her as her servants today, and she said that she's gonna live forever, you know. And when you get back in history and you see whichever country that it was. They had the tribes of Benjamin, Judah, and Levi as their slaves. Was the most powerful country on the earth, and eventually it fell. And each one of those captivities had a period of time that was prophesied, and this period of time here that we'd be in this captivity was 400 years. Now, I know that the first slaves came over here in Jamestown, and when was it, 1619? But they came down in Brazil in 1612, and they're still a part of this continent. So we're right at the doors of our deliverance. This is why our people aren't talking about anything. We aren't trying to do anything. There's something going on, and we don't know what it is because we refuse to read. We'll read a novel, but we refuse to read the number one seller every year, and that is the Holy Bible. It's the most widely read and talked about book on the earth. And our people wrote it, and we know less about it than anybody else. You know why? We love the traditions of men. And the things that people are practicing today, as they call religion, these things aren't written down in the book. When you go in the book of Acts, in Acts 11, it said the disciples were called Christians first in Antioch. Well, Antioch is in Syria. It was Gentiles who called the apostles Christians. Well, they had a whole lot of other choice names that they've called our people since that time. But if you go in Acts 15, which is about 26 years later, you find out that Paul said he was a Jew of Tarsus. So regardless to what they were called, Christ himself said, salvation is of the Jews. And in Romans 2, Paul said, glory and honor to the Jew first, and tribulation and anguish to the Jew first, and then to the nation. And truly, we have received, we've been out of our land since between 70 and 100 AD when General Titus invaded Jerusalem. So when you read your Bible, don't think you're reading, don't go in there looking for somebody to scare you to death. You're going to find Yahweh when you're walking in your personal life, when you're at home in solitude, when you're walking down the street and different things. That's when you're going to find your God, not in this book. You're going to find world history in this book. Man used this book to indoctrinate people and taught them religion to keep them domesticated. And truly, man has been totally mesmerized by the various religions that's on the earth today. And when you look around and see how many different denominations they got, the reason why they have all these different denominations is simply because they never quite could get that lie straight. But let me go ahead and finish this up here. This is verse 4, Isaiah 47 and verse 4. As for our Redeemer, Yahweh of hosts is his name, the Holy One of Israel. Sit you silent and get you into darkness, O daughter of the Aryans, for you shall no more be called a lady of kingdoms. I was angry with my people. I have polluted mine inheritance and given them into your hand. You did show them no mercy. Upon the ancient have you very heavily laid the yoke. And you said, I shall be a lady forever, so that you did not lay these things to your heart, neither did remember the latter end of it. Therefore, hear not this, you that are given to pleasure, that dwell carelessly, that says in your heart, I am, and none else besides me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. But these two things shall come upon you in a moment, in one day, the loss of children and widowhood. They shall come upon you in their perfection for the multitude of your sorceries and for the abundance of your enchantment. As powerful as America is, America is the most powerful country that has ever been upon the face of the earth. And as powerful as she is, Yahweh says she's going to be destroyed in 1 hour and 1 day, and she's not going to know where it's coming from. Now, according to what the prophet Jeremiah had to say, Russia is going to destroy America. Russia is going to be the prince of the armies that's going to be formed by the EU, and we can see very well that the Holy Roman Empire is being formed over in Europe, and America is truly, truly sinking. At one time, little countries, big countries didn't want to say anything. They were afraid to say anything about America. Now, we got folks down in South America doing all, drug lords doing all the hollering about what they think about America. This guy Chavez called Bush Satan. Now, it lets you know what people think about this country here. They don't fear America anymore. America has become the melting pot of every unclean and uncaged and sinful bird right here. You can come to America and do anything you want to as long as you don't step on nobody's foot and don't kill nobody's dog. Kill all the babies you want to. But if you kill somebody's dog, you're in trouble. And then when you look around and see the things that's going, the nakedness of the people, we just read about how Isaiah said her nakedness is going to be shown. Look in the streets. Look on TV and see what you see on TV. TV has turned into pornography, and we know it. It's a good learning tool, but it's turned into pornography simply because of the fact that these people are lawless people. The daughter of Babylon, this Protestant stronghold who profess to be not under the law but under grace, she's become a modern-day Sodom and Gomorrah. And we know what happened to Sodom and Gomorrah. Well, the same thing is going to happen to America. It's been prophesied. Now, I know some of y'all don't want to hear this, because y'all sold on America. Y'all, America's the finest thing you ever had, and it's the only thing you want to deal with, but she's going to go. And if you don't have on your whole armor, you won't make it. Yahweh already told us only 1 out of 3 of us is going to make it, and he's going to save 1/6 of the nations. The nations that grab onto the coattail of him that is a Jew and say, we will go with you. Zechariah chapter 8. The nation that grab onto the coattail of him that is a Jew saying, we will go with you, those are the nation that's going to wash, the people that's going to wash their robes in the blood of the Lamb and make them white as snow. Because the church has baptized you to Satan. Let's understand that. Christ was Jew. When Christ was, when the star was seen at Christ's birth, the 3 Hebrews, they always show us a white boy, a brown boy, and a green boy, but whatever color. But these was all Hebrews. I mean, the nations hadn't even come under the blood of Yeshua yet. They hadn't even been grafted in at that time. See, this is why Christ said in St. Matthew 15 chapter that he was only sent to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. He had to come and redeem our people, and then he sent our people out to teach the world. Emperor Nero killed Peter. He killed Paul. He exiled John and revelated to the Isle of Patmos. And then in 70 AD, Vespasian, General Vespasian, proconsul, I should say, Vespasian, he came into besieged Jerusalem. But in the meanwhile, Nero died. And he left Titus there, and according to all records, Titus destroyed 1.3 million of our people in the city. It was on Passover when he invaded the city. And the last 97,000, they rounded up and sold to the Ethiopians to work in the salt mine. Well, if that's the case, if that's the historical fact, how did the Jews come out of Europe? You have to ask yourself questions like that. But if you go to a church where you got some pulpit pimp up there trying to get some money out of you and telling you you going to heaven and everything, I've been asking y'all, I've been coming on TV for 18 years, and I've been asking you, call in here and show me in your book where Yahweh say you're going to heaven. You show it to me, and I'll stop coming on TV. Then I get out of y'all hair. Let me finish this up. Verse 6. It says, I was angry with my people. I have polluted mine inheritance and given them into your hand. You did show them no mercy. Upon the ancient has you very heavily laid the yoke, and I can witness that. I've seen strange fruit hanging on trees that didn't grow on those trees. And you said, I shall be a lady forever. so that you did not lay these things to heart, neither did remember the latter end of it. Therefore, hear now this, you that are given to pleasure, that dwell carelessly, that say in your heart, I am, and none else besides me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. But these two things shall come upon you in a moment. In one day, the loss of children and widowhood, they shall come upon you in their perfection, for the multitude of your sorceries and for the great abundance of your enchantment. Now, if y'all recall, Ronald Reagan had a soothsayer that he talked to. He wouldn't even make a phone call unless he talked to a soothsayer. Okay. But you have trusted in your wickedness. You have said, don't nobody see me. Your wisdom and your knowledge, it has perverted you. And you have said in your heart, I am, and none else besides me. Therefore evil shall come upon you. You shall not know from whence it rise, and mischief shall fall upon you. You shall not be able to put it off. And desolation shall come upon you suddenly, which you shall not know. Well, when these things happen, we got to be out of here. We got to be out of here. And the problem is nobody is going to want 30 or 40 million of us living in their countries. But Yahweh has already a place already prepared for his people. Sometime when you get a chance to go in the Old Testament and read Ezekiel 20 and see where Yahweh say he was going to get his people out of here just before she's destroyed. And when you get in the book of Revelations, if you read Revelations 8, and if you read the first, second, third, and fourth trumpet, and then go into Revelation 16 and read the first, second, third, and fourth vial, that is the destruction of America. And we have got to get out of here before it happens. But you don't have to fear right now, because Yahweh has to gather his lost sheep. And that's what's in the process of happening. The churches are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Lucifer is gathering his people, and Yahweh is gathering his people. And to show you who Lucifer's peoples are, the first thing that Yahweh blessed and sanctified was the Sabbath day. The first thing Emperor Constantine and Pope St. Leo changed was the Sabbath day. The Sabbath day is in the Ten Commandments. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. But let me read something to you that the prophet Isaiah had to say, that Yahweh told Isaiah about that once he set up his kingdom. This is in Isaiah 66, and I'm going to pick this up at verse 15. For behold, the Adonai will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire. For by fire and by his sword will the Adonai plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Adonai shall be many. They that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the garden in the midst behind one tree, eating swine's flesh, and the abomination and the mouse shall be consumed together, saith the Adonai. For I know their works and their thoughts. It shall come that I will gather all nations and tongues, and they shall come and see my glory. And I will set a sign among them. And I will send them that escape of them into the nation, to Spain, to Africa, that draw the bow, to Tubal and Javan, to the islands that are far off, that have not heard of my fame, neither seen my glory. And they shall declare my glory among the Euro-Gentiles. And the Euro-Gentiles shall bring all your brethren for an offering unto Yahweh out of all nations, upon horses, and in chariots, and in leaders, and upon mules, and upon swift beasts, to my holy mountain Jerusalem, saith Yahweh, as the children of Israel bring an offering in a clean vessel into the house of Yahweh. And I will also take of them for priests and Levites, saith Yahweh. For as the new heavens and the new earth, which I shall make, shall remain before me, saith Yahweh, so shall your seed and your name remain. And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, saith Yahweh. And they shall go forth and look upon the carcasses of the men that have transgressed against me, for their worm shall not die, neither shall their fire be quenched, but they shall be an abhorring to all flesh. I bet you never heard that in church, have you? See, that's because y'all try to build, these people took a history book and used the top of the house To build a house, you can't build a house from the top down. You got to start in the foundation. That's why I said they never could get that lie straight, because they went in the letters. The letters is not scripture. The letters is a confirmation of things that were said in the Old Testament. If you never read the Old Testament, then people can tell you anything. You might end up walking around here talking about Assalamu alaikum and read this book here. See? And we know that Islam and Judaism is two different religions. But Yahweh didn't give us a religion. That's something that man put on us to keep us domesticated. The phone number here is 404-873-1349. That's 404-873-1349. If you care to, call in and let's chit-chat a little bit. If you don't want to talk about what I talk about, I'll talk about what you want to talk about. It doesn't make any difference, just so we can have some kind of dialogue. But let me read something else to you that the sweet psalmist David had to say was going to take place. This is in Psalms 2. It says, "Why do the heathen rage, and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against Yahweh and his anointed, saying, let us break their bands asunder and cast their cords from among us." They've already done that. They've already done that. And we see that. Why do you think our children out in the street, they're graduating from school in the thousands? Why do you think they can't find no work? Why do you think we don't have a viable economic base in our neighborhood anymore? See, that come from folks. Yahweh always separated us from other people. But no, we want to be like Mike. So we followed the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, and what happened? We integrated. These people don't want us to be like them. They want us to be ourselves. But no, we want to be like them. And that's the reason why they dislike us, because we don't do anything of our own. We're followers. Let me finish this up. It said, the king, this is Psalms 2 and verse 2. The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against Yahweh and against his anointed, saying, let us break their bands asunder and cast their cords from among us. He that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh. The other shall have them in derision. Then shall he speak to them in his wrath, and vex them in his sore displeasure. Yet have I set my king upon my holy hill of Zion. I will declare the decree that Yahweh has said unto me, you are my son. This day have I begotten you. Ask of me, and I shall give you the heathen for your inheritance, and the utmost part of the earth for your possession. What he did ask. Why you think Paul went all up into Europe teaching? Now we walking around talking about we Gentiles. Yahweh told Paul he was going to send him to the Gentiles. He didn't send him to Africa. He didn't send him to the Middle East. He went up in Europe and Asia and set up the 7 churches. That's where he went. Verse 9. You shall break them with a rod of iron. You shall dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. Be wise now, therefore, O you kings. Be instructed, you judges of the earth. Serve Yahweh with fear and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the Son, lest he be angry, and you perish from the way when your wrath is kindled but a little. Blessed are they that put their trust in him. You see, so don't, that thing people telling y'all about y'all being going off to Never Land and everything's not written no place in the book that you are going off this earth anywhere. If you go off this earth, you're going to be in it. In other words, you're going to be in your grave, because when the Mashiach comes, everybody ain't going to get killed off. It's going to, Messiah is going to set up a kingdom on this earth for 1,000 years. What he's going to do is destroy the wicked off the earth. And anybody that walk around and tell you that Yahweh don't have any law, and you believe that he don't have any law, well, what is he going to judge the earth by? He has to have the same standards to judge you by that he judged me by, that he judged the people in India, Africa, Asia, and Europe. He got to have the same standards to judge everybody by, and they are written down. They're written down according to the New Covenant. Now, the New Covenant was made with the house of Israel and the house of Judah. Let's understand that. This is why the Messiah himself said, I'm not sent but to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. He had to come and redeem us back to the Creator. Then he sent us to teach the nations. And then the nation, we didn't do what we were supposed to do. Then the nations invaded our country. And now, if you're a Christian, whatever denomination that you practice except Catholicism, I bet you one thing, it's less than 600 years old. And seeing that the English language didn't have a J or U in it, what did you call the Messiah before you called him Jesus? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. I'm going to read you something else that was said in the book of Revelations here. Everybody walking around talking about they the servants of the living God. Everybody talking about, you know, I talked to the Lord last night and he told me biggest lie I ever told. Biggest lie I ever told. He ain't told you jack. But see, people tell these lies because the members in the church, especially in our church, you don't read your book. Your book be up laying up in the back of in the back window in the car, turn to some Psalms or something. Somebody done told you about that's gonna bring you good luck. But let me read you something here. Let me read you something here out of the book of Revelation that's going to take place after the Messiah has reigned on this earth for 1,000 years. I'm going into Revelation chapter 21. John say, and I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from Elohim out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of Elohim is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and Elohim himself shall be with them and be their God. And Elohim shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. And he that sat upon the throne said, Behold, I make it all things new. Okay, now let me skip down here to verse 9. It says, And there came one of the seven angels, which had the seven last vials full of the seven last plagues, and talked with me, saying, Come here, I will show you the bride, the Lamb's wife. Now the church say they the bride, right? Right? Okay. Now John say he's going to show you the Lamb's bride. Verse 10, And he carried me away in the spirit to a great and high mountain, and showed me that great city, holy Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from Elohim, having the glory of Elohim, and her light was like unto a stone most precious, even like a jasper stone, clear as crystal, and had a wall great and high, and had 12 gates, and at the gates 12 angels, and names written on, which are the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. Well, where's everybody else's gate? If they don't go in there with the children of Israel, they don't go into the holy city. Ain't no doubt about it. But see, you don't get these things in church because people are interested in your money. That's all they're interested in is your money. They ain't gonna do nothing for you, but they're interested in that money. And like food, a lot of us let our electricity get paid off because the preacher done told you got to plant that seed and Yahweh's going to give you back sevenfold. If you give into the Creator, expecting for him to give you something back, he ain't going to give you nothing. You breathing, ain't you? That's your gift right there. But see, we want something tangible from the Creator. So what we do, we go, and some churches even got it set up to where they send W-2 forms to your job. In other words, after your Uncle Sam get his, then your preacher get his. Ain't that deep? Ain't that deep? Ain't that about nothing? Yeah, see, church has gotten to the place now to where poor people can't go to church. The Messiah said, you're going to always have the poor with you. Now, we know when he said always, that means it's going to be poor people in that kingdom too. But see, the man has told us, because Paul told the people in Thessalonica that we was going to meet the Messiah in the air. We was going to always be we'd be forever with him. Then people took that to mean, well, we going up to heaven. It didn't say that. It didn't say. You can't speculate about the word of the God of Israel. He said we're going to be in the air. We're going to meet the Lord in the air, and we're going to forever be with the Lord, right? Okay, let's see something. I'm going to prophet Zechariah and read something here out of the prophet Zechariah and see what you get up out of this. Now, we talking about the day of the Lord when the Lord come, right? Okay. This is Zechariah chapter 14. Behold, the day of the Lord comes, and your spoil shall be divided in the midst of you. For I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle, and the city shall be taken, and the houses rifled, and the women ravished, and half of the city shall go forth into captivity, and the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city. You're talking about the war of Armageddon now. Then shall the Adonai go forth and fight against those nations as when he fought in the day of battle. And his feet shall stand in that day on the Mount of Olives, which is before Jerusalem on the east, and the Mount of Olives shall cleave in the midst thereof toward the east and toward the west, and there shall be a very great valley. And half of the mountain shall remove toward the north, and half of it toward the south. Now, remember when the Messiah ascended from the Mount of Olives, the angel told the apostles, say, you men of Galilee, why do you stand gazing into heaven? Say the same way he left is the same way he's going to come back. He's coming right back to the same place he left from the Mount of Olives. That's why the prophet Zechariah says feet is going to stand on that day on the Mount of Olives. So what's going to happen? Once the Messiah break through the clouds, the dead, it said there's going to come a time when even those in the grave going to hear the voice of the Son of God and going to rise to eternal life. So when you give that shout, the dead in Christ is going to rise up to meet him in the air, but they're coming right back down to the Mount of Olives. We just read that. Okay, I'm going to pick this up at verse 6. It says, and it shall come to pass in that day that the light shall not be clear nor dark, but it shall be one day which shall be known unto the Lord, not day nor night. But it shall come to pass that at evening time it shall be light. And it shall be in that day that living water shall go out from Jerusalem, half of them toward the former sea, and half of them toward the hinder sea. In summer and winter shall it be. And the Adonai shall be king over all the earth. And in that day there shall be one Lord, and his name one. But see, everybody I talk to talking about they going to heaven. Christ wasn't promised that he was reign from heaven. He was given all power of heaven. But see, the promise, when you get back into 2 Samuel 7 and read the promise, the covenant that was made with David, it was told to David, you never like a man to sit on your throne. Now, they didn't come up with some garbage about the Da Vinci Code that the Messiah married Mary. She's the Holy Grail. First it was a cup. Now she's the Holy Grail, and she had a girl, and they done went over there in France and Europe and every place, and now the Queen of England sits on the throne of David. How the hell can that be? Huh? He said you never like a man to sit on his throne. The Messiah sits on the throne of David now. And when he returned to the earth, he's going to set up his kingdom from Jerusalem, Israel. And like I said, let me read something to you. You know, people don't like to keep Yahweh's holy days. We keep them holidays, the Christians get it. Let me read something to you out of Zechariah that's going to take place after the war of Armageddon. It says... in verse 16 it says, and it shall come to pass that everyone that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even come up from year to year to worship the King, Yahweh of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. See, when Yahweh gave us his law, he told us, say, as you do, so shall the stranger do. Well, why don't the strangers keep the Feast of Tabernacles? They're going to do it in the first resurrection. So people are going to tell me, well, he didn't mean, when he said in the Old Testament forever, he didn't really mean forever. Well, if he didn't mean forever, maybe he don't mean he's going to give you eternal life. Once again, the phone number here is 44873-1349. It's a lot of things that's being talked about that we should be very, very aware of and go do research on. Believe half of some of what you hear and some of none. Believe half of what you see and some of none of what you hear. Go do your own research. Find out what the same thing it says to you, it's going to say to me. This, like Paul said, the scripture is not of your private interpretation. Holy men spoke as they was moved by the will of God. Well, the New Testament isn't scripture. The New Testament refers you to the Old Testament. That's because Yahweh said, I don't do nothing till I tell my servants, the prophets, first. And everything that was going to take place upon this earth, every major thing that would affect world changes in the children of Israel, every major thing was written down by the prophets. Everything. Who all the nations are, what the nation was going to be about down through history is written in the Holy Prophets. This is the way you can tell which nation is who, because you got a lot of Shemites over in the Middle East that rule in countries that belong to the Gentiles. You got a lot of Gentiles that rule in countries that belong to the Shemites. But didn't Noah tell Shem that Japheth was going to dwell in his tents? Well, he does. He does. As quiet as it's kept, we looking at Iran. Go back and read some history of Iran. It was called Elam and it was called Persia. The Persian was Gentiles. And they got a class of people over there that are Gentiles that are Persian. But the Arabs settling in the 1300s, and they just haven't had enough power to get them out. You know why? Because Miss America's pie, she didn't care. As long as it was taking place over there, she didn't care. But guess what? The chickens has come home to roost. Right here in America, they got some, have y'all been watching these things going on, God's Warriors on TV? Have y'all been watching things just coming out the Prophecy Club? Huh? They got folks they got cells set up here that's ready to destroy this girl. What you think all those paramilitary groups that are Americans are doing all this training over here on these farms and so forth? Remember the Oklahoma bombing? Osama bin Laden didn't do that. Okay? Timothy McVeigh and that group that he belonged to, those Gentiles did that. When the revolution comes, it ain't gonna be about us. Don't get big-headed. It's not, the revolution's not gonna be about us. Our problem is we're in the way. That's what the problem is. We are a do-nothing people in the way, and we can't even stand each other. See? And I remember before the civil rights movement, brother, neighborhoods raised children. But then we came through the civil rights movement, we want to be like Mike. Now we just like Mike. And Yahweh told us, I'm going to put you in captivity under cruel Lord, don't you learn his ways. Corporate America dictate to us and brainwash us into everything that we do. And the rappers that we got, they are partly responsible too, and we even made them filthy rich. But like Yahweh told us, learn not the ways of the strangers, because they vain. They go in the woods, they cut out a tree, they bring it back, they fasten it to the floor, it stands upright like the palm tree, they decorate it with gold and silver. He told us not to do that. Don't y'all do that every December 20? Well, y'all doing it earlier and earlier now. Don't y'all do that every year, decorate that tree out of the woods and so forth? I mean, our people just get off into the tree, but you Gentiles get off into the Yule log, the 12 days of Christmas. All of these things are rituals that dealt with a whole lot of paganism. Why do you think they set Christ's birthday on December 25th, which is the day of the winter solstice? According to the Bible, he was born in the summer. Why? The Messiah was resurrected on the 16th day of the month of April. Man, Easter got that rabbit in it. They keep Easter when they want to. See? It's supposed to come on the vernal equinox every year. And this is why they worship on Sunday. Lucifer is the angel of the sun, and their symbol, December 25th. The summer solstice, the spring equinox, the harvest, the festival of harvest, all that junk's tied up in a bunch of paganism. See, I know a lot of y'all think that Thanksgiving is an American holiday, but why do they keep it in Germany and Canada? Yeah, you have to read your book. Read your book, and you might get some understanding. Let me read something to you here that Peter had to say to the children of Israel. I think that was Peter. It might have been Paul. But let me read something. I think it was Peter. Let me read something to you that Peter had to say about our people here. And then you'll understand. Now understand that Moses told our people, Yahweh told our people when they was in the wilderness, you shall be a kingdom of priests unto me, a holy nation. But he turned around and chose the tribe of Levi. But the Messiah was the high priest. He came out of Judah. They called him the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David. So we can understand that it's been a lie that's been in this woodpile somewhere that has been told to our people. But the reason for it is simply because we don't read. See? Now I'm going to read 1 Peter. Now if you get in the book, in the beginning of this book, you'll find out, let me read it so you'll see what who Peter was talking about. It says, Peter, an apostle of Yeshua HaMashiach, to the strangers scattered throughout Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, and Bithynia, elect according to the foreknowledge of Elohim the Father, through sanctification of the Spirit unto obedience and sprinkling of the blood of Yeshua the Messiah, grace be unto you and peace be multiplied. So Peter wrote this letter here to the Jews that were scattered all over the earth. Now let me read something what he told them in chapter 2. This is chapter 2, and I'm going to start this at verse 5. It says, you also, as lively stones, are built up a spiritual house, a holy priesthood, to offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God and Yeshua the Messiah. Wherefore also it is contained in the scripture, behold, I lay in Zion a chief stone, elect, precious, and he that believe on him shall not be confounded. Unto you therefore which believe he is precious, but unto them which be disobedient, the stone which the builders allowed, the same is become the head of a corner, and a stone of stumbling, and a rock of offense even to them which stumble at the word, being disobedient whereunto they were also appointed. But you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, and holy nation, a peculiar people, that you should show forth the praises of him who have called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. And I'll tell you what else you can do too. You go in this book and show me a covenant that Yahweh made with anybody except the Holy Seed. But yet and still, when you go to church, I bet you it was a Gentile that started the religion that you practice. But it wasn't no covenant made with them. They was grafted in our tree. But what did they do? They cut down our tree and then set up their tree. Now we fruits of their tree. That's why all y'all talking about going off to heaven. You have to read your book. Read your book and see what's said in your own book, and you might get some understanding. Don't start in the back of the book. When you go to school and you get promoted to another grade, they don't start you in the back of the book when they give you a new book for that class. They start you in the front of the book. Well, why do y'all start in the back of the book? If you don't lay the foundation, people can tell you anything. People can tell you anything. We know that the Gentiles became partakers. That didn't mean for them to take over. Let me read something to you out of the book of Hebrews here that Peter had to say to our people. And one thing about reading this book here, you have to know who is talking to who about what. Okay, you have to pay attention to the we, you, theys, and thous, and those. You have to pay strict attention to that. Because a lot of time, Paul will say, well, we brethren, then he'll turn right around and say, but you, he made a difference, didn't he? But see, we get in church and they read all of that at once. They read something about the children of Israel and read right over it like it wasn't even there. But let me read something to you that out of the book of Hebrews here. This is Hebrews chapter 8, and I'm going to start this at verse 7. For if that first covenant had been faultless, then should no place have been sought for the second, for finding fault with them, who? The people. He said, behold, the days come, saith the Adonai, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt, because they continued not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, saith the Adonai. But this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Adonai. I will put my laws in their mind, and write them in their hearts, and I will be to them an Elohim, and they shall be to me a people. You can't get around that. You can't get around it. Now, don't think I'm talking, a lot of y'all like to say I'm talking racism. No, I'm not. Yahweh created all flesh. He's going to save all flesh. But he's going to set up a governmental system. All the other nations have ruled the earth. Why can't we rule it? We were promised that we're going to rule it for 1,000 years. Get into Zechariah. He told you he's going to take the governors of Judah and scatter them to the four corners of the earth, and they're going to govern the earth for 1,000 years in complete peace. Read your book. See, Yahweh don't need nothing for you to surmise, because law and order, sin and evil is set in order in his book. And if you don't walk according to what's written down here, I know Paul said you're not under the law, you're under grace, but what you do is this: don't take that little verse, go back to the beginning of the chapter and see what Paul was talking about. Paul was talking about the animal sacrifice. How can God judge the world without law? They got a right out here on 14th Street, they got a sign out there to say 35 miles an hour. That's law. You see how they got your brother Vic jacked up, don't you? Why? Law. So y'all gonna tell me that man has law, but Yahweh don't have any. If that's the case, he never would have destroyed our people. Tell you what you do, when you get a chance to read Deuteronomy 28 and read the things that Yahweh said was going to happen to his people, and it only happened to us. And go back into 1948, 49, and just skim, go skim through the newspaper in the library. And you're going to read a headline said, "Buy Israel bonds, 1 million Jews killed." 10 years later, it was 2. 15 years later, it was 5. Now it's 6. They keep on, it's going to be 24 million. But then you got to understand who came over this country and brought the media. It was the same people that's in Israel now. And during the Messiah's time, they were called the Herodians. Today, United States and Great Britain was the one who set them up as the Jews in our land. Why not? We over here talking about we African Americans. But ask yourself a question. How many of us do you know that's married to or even date an African woman? Now rattle that around. Let me read something to you that the Messiah had to say, and see what you get out of this. People tell me you got to be a Christian to receive salvation. Well, let's see what the Messiah said here. What the Messiah had to say. Now, the Messiah had met this woman at the well, and he asked her to give him some water, and she didn't want to. She told him, said, "Well, you know, you ain't got nothing, ain't nothing to dig with. You know, what you talking about? Give you so well deep, man. You ain't got nothing. Yeah, I'm a Samaritan, and y'all don't have no dealings with us. And you asking me for some water?" He told us, "A woman, if you knew who it was to ask you for some water, you would have gave me some, and I would have gave you some water springing up in eternal life." And she said, this is what she said now. Now people are going to tell you this was a foreigner, but listen to what was said, and you see she was an Israelite. It said, this is St. John chapter 4 and verse 19. The woman said unto him, "Sir, I perceive that you are a prophet. Our fathers worship in this mountain, and you say that in Jerusalem is the place for men ought to worship." Well, right up further here, he told her that our father Jacob gave us this well. So she said her father, then you know she was an Israelite. Let me finish reading. Yahshua said unto her, "Woman, believe me, the hour come when you shall neither in this mountain nor yet at Jerusalem worship the Father." You don't know what you worship. We know what we worship, because salvation is of the Jews. Now, If Christ said salvation is of the Jews, and your preacher tell you salvation is of the Christian, and you believe your preacher, then you don't believe what the Messiah had to say. And I'm inclined to believe what's written in this book. I don't mean that you go in there and just pull out a verse and read it and close the book and interpret it to me. See, that ain't going to work. I'm going to make you read everything that needs to be read to show you that what you're thinking is a lie. If we just read in Zechariah where it said, and that day, 1/10 of all the languages of the nation go grab onto the coattail of him that is the Jew, saying, we will go with you because we have heard that God is with you. Christ was born King of the Jews. See? Go back and read the story of the three wise men and brothers that was coming back up to Jerusalem when that star was seen. They was expecting it. Isaiah had already told them a star is going to rise out of Jacob. And when they saw that star, those brothers that had been colonized all over Europe and Asia in 721 BCE by Emperor Shalmaneser, they came back to Jerusalem to keep the holy days. And here come these three wise men. They come up there and they came and found the baby. And what did they ask? Where is he that is born King of the Jews? Because we have seen his star in the east and we have come to worship. This is the son that was promised David. Like he told David in the Psalms, he said, once I've sworn I will not lie unto David, of the fruit of your bowels would I sit on your throne. And that man was Yeshua, the Messiah, the one that y'all mistakenly called Jesus. And incidentally, like I said before, 600 years ago, you couldn't even have said Jesus. The word didn't even exist. So what did y'all call him before you added that J and that U to your language? What did you call him then? See, there's a lot of things about religion that people don't ask questions about because they don't read. Read your book. This is why the scriptures say study to show yourself approved. But we don't want to study to show ourselves approved. We like Miss America's Pie. And Miss America's Pie is going to be on the bottom of the Atlantic and the Pacific and the Gulf of Mexico and the Bering Strait very soon. It ain't going to be too. It ain't going to be too long. And then you just look around and understand it's because of religion, the religion of men, that the whole world has become a spiritual wasteland. The whole world has become a spiritual wasteland. Then they got folks walking around here talking about, you can't have the Spirit unless you speak in tongues. Paul said, thank my God, I speak more tongues than any of you. But I'd rather speak one word with the understanding than to speak 1,000 without the understanding. He said, if any man speak in an unknown tongue, let him have an interpreter. And don't let but one or two of them speak, and let them speak by course, one now and one later on. So if I come by, if a barbarian come by, an unlearned come by, and all y'all speaking in tongues, won't you think y'all all mad? Right. You on the air. Go ahead, dear. Go ahead.
Yes. I didn't know you said they separated for the Jews.
Yeah.
But then the Jesus Christ came to the Jews first, and the Jews rejected him, and he went to the Gentiles.
Yeah.
So how you said that for the Jews only?
Well, I didn't say only the Jews was going to attain salvation.
I can't hear you.
I didn't say that only the Jews was going to attain salvation.
I still can't hear you.
Well, I don't know why you can't hear me, brother. But I don't know why. I don't know. I didn't say that it was only the Jews that was going to obtain salvation. Yahweh is going to save all of the seeds on the earth except two. He said there'll be no more the Canaanites and there'll be no more Edomites in his kingdom. So we know that those are the only two people that's going to be saved. But check this out. If Paul said glory and honor to the Jew first, how is it that all the other nations could attain the same things that the Jews obtained at the same time?
Well, all thing I want to know is why did when he went to the Jews first and they didn't receive him, he went to the Gentiles and he did so.
I can't hear him, man. Bring him up. Bring him up, son. I can't hear him. Hey. Bring him up, son. I can't hear the man. Go ahead, brother.
I said, now I'm still saying the same thing. Jesus Christ went to the Jews first, the chosen one.
Yeah.
They received him not. Then he went to the Gentiles, and they received him. Now, that's why I want to know, each of the Gentiles have the salvation, and the Jews, the Jews have the salvation, and the Gentiles don't. That's what I'm talking about.
No. The Gentiles are going to obtain salvation too. They're going to obtain salvation. What you do is go in there and read Revelation 7. When Yahweh's people were sealed, that 144,000, all those were Jews. But if you go into verse 9, it's saying, after this I saw a great multitude of all nations, tongues, and languages. And John say he knew who Israel was, so he asked the angel, one of the elders, say, who are these? And he arrayed in white robes. And he said, these are they that came out of great tribulation and have washed their robes in the blood of the Lamb.
Okay.
I mean, you got to have somebody to rule over, brother.
Yeah, okay. All right, then.
Okay. That is. Yeah. Well, I'm glad this is our first. We are back on the air now, and like I said before, go ahead and once you write the culture center, they'll put up our address there in a minute. Go ahead and write the culture center. Let me know what you want to talk about. Because here, Drew, the head of our media department, Brother Esau, is here, and he'll get all of those, whatever you're saying, he'll get that, and we'll sit down when we have our meeting. We'll formulate shows that you might be interested in. And in the meantime, my name is Jacob Ben Israel. I'm the elder priest of the Culture Center, the New Covenant Congregation of Israel. We're located at 3901 Covington Highway in Decatur, Georgia. Peace.